So what's going on, guys? It is JM, it is speakboxing. Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel before you click on to any of the videos. Also comment below in the comment section if you guys have any opinions on what I'm saying in any of the videos. Like always, it's appreciated if you guys could drop me a quick sub or two on my channel. So this is my prediction video for the Chris Eubank Jr. George Groves World Boxing Super Series semi-final bout and WBA Super Middleweight title fight this Saturday night in Manchester. This is a very highly anticipated fight. This is a fantastic fight for the fans. Like, I've been looking forward to this fight ever since it was announced. Obviously, when George Groves beat Jamie Cox, then the fight got made because obviously these two were meant to meet in the semi-finals because that's how the draw went. And, you know what I mean, it's just an exciting fight to look forward to. Both guys, you know what I mean, have their flaws. Both guys have their strengths. And the public seem pretty split, you know what I mean. I think Chris Eubank Jr. is the slight favourite. If I had to pick one, I think Chris Eubank Jr. is the slight favourite. Like, a lot of people just think that he'll have the better engine over the 12 rounds, that his work rate will be too much for George Groves, and in the middle rounds he'll get on top of George Groves. But George Groves obviously is a lot bigger than Chris Eubank Jr. Like, that's evident when these two stood together. You could just see straight away there's a big size difference, because obviously George Groves is a very big super middleweight, whereas Chris Eubank Jr. is coming up from middleweight. You know what I mean? He's not a very big super middleweight at all. And Chris Eubank Jr. hasn't got the punch power that George Groves has, in my opinion. Like, Chris Eubank Jr. has a very good punch output and stuff like that, and there is some power there with Chris Eubank Jr. to a certain extent, but in terms of one punch power, I think George Groves is the bigger puncher. George Groves has a tremendous right hand, but he has been a bit jaded the last couple of years, George Groves, you know what I mean? Ever since the Carl Froch defeats and then his defeat to Badu Jack, a lot of people have said that he's faded a little bit. Like, he's been in tough fights, like the Martin Murray fight. Even though he won the fight clearly, it was still a pretty tough fight for him, you know what I mean? He still had to work hard in that fight. And the Fedor Chudinov fight, you know what I mean, that was a hard fight, even though he managed to stop Fedor Chudinov. And in his last fight against Jamie Cox, where he did look good against Jamie Cox, you know what I mean, he looked a lot more faster in terms of his reflexes and stuff like that. But he still had to work in that fight, and he's going to have to do it again on Saturday night against Chris Eubank Jr. But George Groves seems to think he can land on Chris Eubank Jr. and hurt him and get him out of there. This is what George Groves is saying. And you got Chris Eubank Jr. Saying that his chin is like his father's, and that he's got a very good chin, and that George Groves won't be able to hurt him. You've got George Groves saying that when they sparred a few years ago, when he had head guards and 16-ounce gloves on, that he managed to stiffen up Chris Eubank Jr., that he hit him with something and he saw Chris Eubank Jr.'s legs stiffen. So it's going to be interesting how Chris Eubank Jr. is going to react on Saturday night when George Groves tags him clean on the chin with 10-ounce gloves on. So very interesting bout. The styles are very different. You've got one man who's all about work rate and who's looking to get in on you in Chris Eubank Jr. And you've got a man in George Groves who's looking to box well on the outside, use his superior size against Chris Eubank Jr., hit him from long range and hit him with big power punches like George Groves has done in the past. George Groves has a very, very good jab, one of the best jabs in boxing today, in my opinion. And if he can establish it against Chris Eubank Jr., then the fight's going to be very interesting. But I've got to make a prediction, and I'm picking Chris Eubank Jr. Like, this isn't a solid prediction, you know what I mean? Like, this is one of them fights, I just need to see it. But I said I was going to make a prediction, and I'm going to pick Chris Eubank Jr. to win the fight on points. I don't think he'll be able to stop George Groves, but I think that if his chin holds up, and as we get into the mid to later rounds, I think Chris Eubank Jr. will take over in the fight, and I think that he'll manage to get it on points by a couple of rounds. That's what I'm saying. So I'm picking Chris Eubank Jr. on points by a few rounds. That's what I'm picking for this fight. But that's not a solid prediction from me. Like, usually with predictions, I'm pretty solid on who I'm picking. But this fight, you know what I mean, it's such an interesting bout. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen until the bell rings. But I'm going to pick Chris Eubank Jr. to beat George Groves via decision by a couple of points. Comment below in the comment section. What's your guys' opinions on this? It's JM, it's speedboxing.